When your furnace or air conditioner quits, you need it fixed, fast. This is Dennis Sullivan, president of Care Heating and Cooling. Our technicians are paid to fix your HVAC system, not sell you a new one. We show up on time, diagnose the problem, and get you comfortable again, without the high-pressure sales pitch. It's our commitment to honesty and craftsmanship that helped us win the Lennox Partner of the Year Award and a BBB Torch Award for Ethics last year. So, call Care Heating and Cooling at 1-800-COOLING or book an appointment online at careheatingandcooling.com. When you need a company you can trust.
Hello, this is Matt from the Explorers Podcast. I want to invite you to join me on the voyages and journeys of the most famous explorers in the history of the world. These are the thrilling and captivating stories of Magellan, Shackleton, Lewis and Clark, and so many other famous and not so famous adventurers from throughout history. Go to explorerspodcast.com or just look us up on your podcast app. That's the Explorers Podcast.
Hello, and thank you for listening to The History of World War II podcast, episode 574, The First British Blitzkrieg. Last time, the Battle of the Mareth Line got underway. The general push on the line had started well enough, that is, until the rains came and weakened the bottom of the wadi, allowing British tanks to sink through. This left an undersized Allied bridgehead on the far side with infantry in support, but no 6-pounders, in case panzers came to counterattack. And General Mies of the 1st Italian Army was planning on doing just that. Meanwhile, Patton's forces did well, taking Gaza, then McNassie further east, with more troops fighting at El Qatar, just under the end of the eastern dorsal mountains. But then the lead force of General Ward to the east ran into a German mobile unit, stopping them cold. Lastly, General Freyberg's corps was about to run through the Tabaga Pass, but would soon be met by the 164th Infantry and 21st Panzer Divisions. The Wadi situation and General Ward's pause at McNassie had given the Axis time to react, and they did just that. At first, General Freyberg seemed to have luck on his side. During the night of March 21st, his 8th Armored Brigade pushed back the Seriano group from the entrance of the Tabaga Pass. But then Freyberg stopped, like General Ward, as he was unsure of more fighting at night. Besides, his intelligence unit was unable to give him a firm answer as to when the 2 approaching German divisions would arrive. But like General Ward, had he pushed on ahead, he might have torn through the pass to then present a wider and stronger front to the coming German threat. Instead, he decided to wait until morning, giving the Germans time to get closer and seal off their end of the gap. At dawn the next day, March 22nd, Freyberg ordered the 8th Armored to move on, but by then the German divisions had arrived and set up a blocking force. The Tabaga Gap was once again closed. As for the British bridgehead on the far side of the wadi, it went no better. That afternoon of March 22nd, the 15th Panzer arrived and used the undulating ground to approach the small British bridgehead safely. When the 15th Panzer attacked in earnest, the bridgehead was simply overwhelmed. The Allied artillery had slowed the Panzer's approach, gaining time, but nothing beyond that could be done, as further support could still not get across the wadi. Seeing the writing on the wall, the tanks of the 50th Royal Tank Regiment sacrificed themselves so the infantry could retreat and recross the wadi to relative safety. As the sun set, only a fraction of the bridgehead still existed. What remained was just on the Axis side of the destroyed crossing. Nothing for it, 30th Corps staff decided to send more engineers to the wadi that night to try to build another causeway. If all went well, more tanks and guns would be able to cross somewhere else before the sun rose the next day. But then Monty got involved and changed course. Instead of a new causeway, he ordered the units there to stand fast. He would now direct his main effort with Freyberg's corps. General Horrocks and his 10th Corps plus the 1st Armored Division were ordered to follow along Freyberg's path to join him ASAP. And using the enemy's aggressive reaction against them, Monty also wanted the 4th Indian Division to cross the northern edge of the Mamata Hills and take up the place where the German 164th Infantry Division had been near the Mareth Line. From there, they could either attack the line or attack the German blocking position from a different angle. The bad news was that all this movement, Horrocks and the 4th Indians, would take at least 3 days. So, no renewed fighting on the part of the 8th Army until March 25th or the 26th. Thus, Monty went again to Alexander to get help from Patton. Monty messaged Alexander if 2nd U.S. Corps could move southeast and set tight in the gap about 15 miles northwest of Gabes, none of the enemy army facing us could get out of the net. It is worth making a great effort to achieve this desirable end. No enemy could possibly escape. What can you do about this? Alexander saw where Monty was going with this, but was hesitant to put so many eggs in Patton's basket. Still, the C&C would alter Patton's standing objectives for the second time. Alexander responded to Monty, "The role you suggest for 2nd U.S. Corps is too ambitious at the moment. It is not sufficiently trained, and maintenance so close to Gabes would be difficult because the 10th Panzer Division, believed now on the move, might attack their rear." As for the message to Patton, that ordered the 2nd Corps to use an armored column instead of a light raiding force to move out, and instead of harassing the Axis airfields, they were now to drive further east and destroy the Axis supply dumps near Mahares. Patton got the order and was again delighted. But that's also when his intelligence staff told him that the 10th Panzer Division was heading for El Guitar to attack General Terry Allen's 1st Infantry Division. And sure enough, before the sun rose on March 23rd, panzers were approaching the American forces at Guitar. Alexander had been right to be cautious. Hey everyone, Ray here. Do you honestly think that you are the only one struggling with ED? Please, you're not. In fact, 40% of men experience ED by the age of 40. But now there's an easier way to fix it. All from your home. No awkward conversations, no doctor's office. Let RexMD, an online telehealth service that helps men get real FDA-approved ED medications, help you regain your confidence. Here's how it works. First, ED meds are not one size fits all, but RexMD has you covered with options. You'll tell them what's going on, your health history, and what you're looking for through a short quiz. Then a U.S. licensed provider will review your information and prescribe a medication, if appropriate. Your treatment will be sent to you with free 2-day delivery. That's it. It's that easy. And the RexMD team is there for any questions you have. And again, just know you're not alone in this, but some men are taking the bull by the horns. What are you waiting for? These are the good years. Now, make them better. And you can get up to 95% off ED treatment with RexMD. Visit rexmd.com/WW2. This is going to change everything. See full details and usage at rexmd.com. Prescription required. Results may vary. As the 10th Panzer came on, Allen's 3 regiments of the 1st Infantry Division were in a line to block the 2 roads that ran east from El Guitar. As El Guitar is located in between 2 ridges from north to south, the 26th Infantry Regiment was on the American left, just below the Jebel Orbata, on the Gum Tree Road, heading east-northeast that led to Mahares. The 16th Infantry Regiment was in the center, with the 18th Regiment on the American right, and to its right was the Jebel Burda. Where the 16th and 18th Regiments met, so right of center, was another road. This one led to Gabes. It went to the east-southeast. The Centauro Division had men on the heights of the Jebel Burda, the ridge to the south, and it was them that the 10th Panzer was coming to assist. General Allen, like General Ward, keeping C&C Alexander's words of caution in mind, took advantage of the Wadi Kebab behind his position. The wadi here ran into a salt lake just below El Qatar, so mines were laid along the entire wadi, should the Axis forces break through the American line. The Germans came on. At 3 a.m., the tanks of the 10th Panzer approached along the Gabes Road, i.e. the southern of the two roads. Their goal was to punch a hole in the American line and be in its rear when the sun came up. From there, they could wreak havoc to no end, which would then allow them to proceed further northwest and make for El Qatar, relieving the Axis forces there. And the German actions were mostly productive, though not perfect. Not exactly at the point they wanted to be when the sun rose, the Panzer still pushed through in between the 16th and 18th regiments. This allowed the Germans to press on and capture or destroy at least 2 artillery battalions and the American infantry that was defending them. From there, Hill 336 was taken just in front of the Wadi Kebab. It looked like March 23rd was going to be another embarrassment for the Americans, with much loss of life, which is when the Germans ran right into the minefields of Allen's emergency stop line. First, a few panzers had detonations go off just under them, destroying their treads or more. Next, as the other panzers came to a halt, American tank destroyers and artillery units. Again, Rommel had been right to be jealous of the Americans' plethora of weapons on the far side of the wadi, opened up. Though not as quickly as the Germans would have done given their experience, but relatively soon, some 38 German tanks were ruined. The rest pulled back to give this a think. Listening in to German radio messages, Allen's intelligence section told him to expect another attack around 4:30 p.m. Sure enough, the Germans were back, but this time in the form of a Stuka-led attack. Only then did the panzers and infantry advance, but having artillery observation teams on both the northern and southern ridges, soon American high-explosive shells rained down on the panzers rather accurately. 10th Panzer, with even fewer tanks now, pulled back and joined the Centauro's positions. Amazingly, somehow, an American infantry division had stopped a German Panzer division dead in its tracks. Patton got the word of this and congratulated everyone. And now he wanted another assignment for his men, and Patton himself wanted to sit at the table with Alexander and Monty, relatively speaking. Unfortunately for General Ward, further east, his attack at McNassey was less successful, as in, it was a stalemate. His men attacked Colonel Lang's ad hoc force on March 23rd, March 24th, and March 25th, with himself leading the attack on the 25th, per Patton's orders. Still, he could not win the field. Not that he knew how close he had come to pulling this off. Yes, Ward's men were exhausted by then, but so too were Lang's. But being veterans, they simply held out longer. Looking over C&C Alexander's shoulder, we zoom out a bit on the map of this general area, and with Patton's defensive victory at El Qatar and General Freyberg's/Horrocks' pending attack on the Tabaga Pass, Alexander wanted to give Patton what he wanted, mostly. Giving Major General Manton Eady's 9th Division to the 2nd Corps, hence to Patton, the C&C wanted an attack along the Gabes Road that went all the way to Tabaga. If Patton's forces could pull this off, and if Horrocks' force could be successful, then the two Allied forces might meet, closing the noose tighter, to use Monty's metaphor. Thus, Patton was about to help Monty for a third time, per Alexander's approval. The C&C wrote to Monty, saw Patton today, and decided to employ 9th Infantry Division with 1st Infantry Division on Axis Gafsa-Gabes, As soon as these divisions have firmly secured the defile on El Qatar, I hope to pass 1st U.S. Armored Division through for strong thrust to Jebel Tabaka. Before this moment, Alexander had been limiting himself to only jab with his left wing, i.e. the Americans, but now he was punching. Monty replied to Alexander on March 26th. Enemy reinforcing El Hama. I understand Patton attacks with 3 divisions tomorrow, and a vigorous and determined thrust by this corps down to Gabes would enable us to round up all this party. Had someone with a crystal ball been present, they might have been asked, Alexander and Monty, you have been underestimating the Americans all this time, specifically Patton. Now, it seems you might be overestimating him. After all, an American attack meant that the panzers they would be going up against would be on the defensive, on terrain favorable to them. Nothing was certain. General Horrocks beat his corps to Freyberg's headquarters at Tabaka. This meeting was uncomfortable, to say the least. After all, here was a junior British officer arriving to help out Freyberg, a New Zealander, when the operation was still officially his. These 2 men, however, more mature than others, put this aside and worked together. And together, they proposed a few options to Monty. However, Monty turned them all down, as he was presented with something more aggressive by the new Air Marshal, Broadhurst, who just took over from Cunningham. To the Air Marshal, it seemed an ideal time to attack, with air and artillery leading the way. After all, Tabaka Valley was narrow, and now the 21st Panzer and 164th Infantry were stuffed in there. Let the whole of the Desert Air Force, plus whatever heavy guns were near enough, literally blast a path through the enemy and through the valley for Freyberg and company. Upon approving this, Monty sent a message to Freyberg and Horrocks. I want to speed up your thrust as much as possible, and I think we can do a great deal to help you by having air bombing all night and day. To take full advantage of this, you would have to do an afternoon attack with the sun behind you. The plan would be as follows. A. Continuous bombing by Wellingtons and night bombers on night D-1. B. Intensive artillery shelling for, say, 1 hour before 0. Smoke, etc. on high ground of flanks and or to cover mine lifting. C. Air cover and attacks by fighters on any movement to and from battle area. I do not believe that any enemy could stand up to such treatment. Freyberg and Horrocks were good with this plan, but needed another day to prepare, so it would be March 26th. And even with this, the 1st British Armored Division would have only just arrived. But this was not their first time that they would have to forego sleep, and it would certainly not be the last. The operation was dubbed Supercharge. Given the extra day before Supercharge, Freyberg and Horrocks developed the plan further, given certain local features. They decided to take possession of an old Roman wall that ran across the valley. There, the New Zealand Infantry would wait for March 26th to attack with the 8th Armored Brigade's tanks, after the air and artillery attacks quieted down around 4 p.m. Then infantry and the 8th Armored would drive hard for some 3 miles into the valley, through the Germans. Then the 1st Armored Division would push on from there another 2 miles as the sun went down. They were to drive onto El Hama, well behind the Mareth Line, and due west of Gabes, along the coast. During their fight towards El Hama, the 1st Armored Division would have the moonlight for help. As the jump-off hour approached, both Freyberg and Horrocks grew anxious, but for different reasons. It was a bold plan, and bold plans normally work brilliantly or fail brilliantly. Freyberg did not fully trust the 1st Armored to achieve its objectives, but felt better when he got a reply from Horrocks. Freyberg asked, if we, the New Zealanders, punch a hole, Will the tanks really go through? Horrocks said, yes, they will, and I am going with them. How could any corps commander not feel good about that? Hence, the British were about to use a combined force to punch a hole and then send their tanks through to dash further afield. It was to be the first of many British Blitzkriegs of the future. Greetings, everyone, from Central Virginia. So, next episode will be Operation Supercharge, and then that will begin to seal the fate of the Axis forces in Tunisia. But again, it's a combination of right, left, the punches constantly coming. And in a lot of ways, the U.S. Navy did the same thing in the Pacific. They had two task forces. One would make a plan and go out and attack. And while they were attacking, the other one would make a plan. And when first one came back, Team B would go out and you just relentlessly pound on the enemy. And that's what Alexander quite brilliantly is doing here. He's taking some chances, but it's war. You have to take chances. Anyways, so we'll see how Supercharge goes next time, later on this week. Let's see here. I don't have any new members. I do have one donation from Stephen Whitby. So Stephen Whitby, you are my new best friend. So thank you very much. I'll see you in a couple days. And we'll watch Supercharge unfold, and then things really begin to change because the soft underbelly becomes the advantageous thing that Churchill wanted and the disastrous thing that Hitler feared. Take care, everyone.